YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We've got all new from E-flite, the Twin Otter 1.4. Looks absolutely fantastic. We are missing a couple of antennas because of our sample, just in case you guys were wondering, 1, 2, and 3 on the bottom. But this thing is absolutely gorgeous, super scale looking, a little bit more detailed than recent offerings because we have details like windshield wipers and doorknobs, painted props, counter-rotating props, beautiful bright lights all around, up to and including that cool protector on the light, on the anti-crash beacon, tail dragger, protection, and we do have a little bit softer nose wheel with spring, as well as mains. They are kind of rock hard though. Full disclosure, the assembly took a little bit more effort than we expected because the thrust reverse did not come out of the box controllable and set up from the transmitter. We had to use a programming tool. We'll show you all that in the Unbox Build radio setup, but it does come equipped by default with thrust reverse and differential thrust, which is pretty sweet. So differential thrust and thrust reverse, as well as flaps and all the details we've expected from the past performance. Look at this, looks absolutely amazing. Just like the 1.1 meter, we've got the beautiful painted props, and in forward thrust, we have AS3X active. And here we go. We set ours up with all 3 modes: safe, AS3X, and off, okay? That is AS3X plus, just to be clear. Slowing it down. And then speeding it up. 4S 2200 on this flight. You can fly it as much as 2700 or 3200, depending on what you want. I got a little bit of trimming issues I got to work through. It's rolling a little bit to my right. I'm going to work on that. There's my trim, a little bit more, and we should be good now. So guys, if you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, this is what we do. We unbox them, we build them, we set them up on the radio system, and we show you exactly how to get the most out of your plane. At least if you're doing a stock configuration. Now, I gotta say, so far with the trim, I'm still getting a feel for kind of how it feels. I've got 1 brake force out of, I think, 9. So you guys might have no brake force on yours by default if you don't set up the thrust reverse, and with the differential thrust, of course, that's gonna give you lots of control authority on the rudder access, but it's mostly important if you're gonna use floats. Now, one word of wisdom and word of caution, this plane does not come out of the box with floats. You have to order those separately, but they do have a special going right now. So when you follow the link in the video description below to get yours, check it out, you'll see what the offer is. Now, if you've already got floats for your 1.5 meter timber, which is the Turbo Timber Evo, you should be fine. You don't need to get them. You can share them, but they do use a different frame from what we understand. We have not tried it yet. Full landing flaps. This radio setup was mostly from the quick setup. Let's see how it feels on landing. Oh, it feels pretty dang buttery and delicious, guys. Now take off flaps out of the flaps all together, hard on the throttle. And then we're gonna go back over to the bowl. You wanna cut in front of me, please? It's kinda got a scream to it. That's good right there. Thank you. Down the damn runway. Trying to distinguish, I still got a little bit of roll going on here. In terms of trim, I don't know if it's rudder or if it is ailerons. I think it's ailerons. Still trying to get it dead center, and it's just not quite there. Excuse me, guys, those lights are lifesavers. Look at that. When you drop down below those beautiful green trees, they really make the visibility great. But I gotta say, flies pretty easy for a Twin Otter. Twin Otter skill level 2 in the 1.4 meter size class. The 1.1, I think, might have been a 1. Not sure if I remember. Maybe it was a 2. But either way, I still wouldn't recommend it as a first plane just because twins are a little bit more complicated, a little bit more to go wrong, but this thing is a very good flying plane. Let's turn some safe on. Okay, here's safe. We were flying an AS3X before. Safe is gonna automatically level the plane. As you can see, when I let go of the sticks, here, I'll come out of this turn, let go of the sticks. It's gonna automatically level the plane for us, but it looks like it's got a little bit of a cant to the same size where my trim is going off. Now I'm gonna turn the off. I'm in off out of AS3X. You can set that up if you want. So if you're into that sort of thing, Looks like now we're in AS3X. You know what I bet it is? Because out of box, they had the trims. I bet the trims were saved for all 3 modes or separated out. So because of that, I need to actually trim in safe and AS3X. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back into safe, and I'm just gonna show you the screen, and you can see that the trims are different from when I go to that mode, right? Can you see them?
Yes.
Okay, good. I can't see if you can see, so I just wanna make sure that people can see. So guys, you can do that in your radio system, and I could change that feature so that it's not. No flaps, touch and go, full throttle. The thing is not as big of a powerhouse as I thought, but with the differential thrust, you can kick it around very easy. And yes, you can change your setting from 10% differential thrust to whatever you want, but you do have to have the programming tool for the right motor. The left motor you can do right from your NX series or IX series transmitter. We were not able to populate our serial driven screens. Let's go a step forward, please. We were not able to populate the screen so as to set it up. We actually went so far as to actually write down the exact steps to take with the right stick on a mode 2 transmitter. Full landing flaps here, show you the full flight envelope inside pass here. Just going right over these trees next to the runway or on the approach, a little bit past them now. Beautiful, I love when it dips down. You can see the nav lights really good. Easy ground handling, easy ground effect handling. Ground handling is fine so far. Didn't really notice anything weird. But I'm still feeling a little bit of roll. Now, I did notice one nuance in our model, and that is that the AR631 is mounted at a slight angle. I wonder if that's screwing with us, hon. We've seen that before, and I wonder if that's what's going on with my trim. Because we almost never need trim like this on these planes, especially with the AS3X Plus, been locked in, rock solid on every plane we've done. And I feel like I'm riding the stick still, at least to a certain extent. And I bet you anything, it's got to do with the position of that receiver. Now take off flaps, we'll show you how it flies. And it looks like we're not losing our trims on the takeoff flaps and landing flaps because I didn't set those up through the flight modes. Now keep in mind, guys, when you download from the receiver the factory setup file, you may find some settings that you don't agree with, and you'll have to go and undo them. My fear is it's a lot more than most people will know to check for the trim connections for flight modes. Let's go a few steps out so I can see down the damn runway. So that, of course, is the damn runway because it flies across a dam, people, in case you were possibly nearby and didn't understand that was a joke. Chevy Chase was going through the Hoover Dam in a very, very popular video, a movie from the 80s, or maybe the late 70s called Vacation. And they went to the Hoover Dam. And the hilarious joke is everybody's asking about the damn gift shop and different things like this. Where's the damn bathrooms? Where's the damn gift shop? Where's the damn runway? That's the joke, folks. I didn't think I had to explain it, but there was somebody the other day that took offense to it. So just be clear, there is a dam, and I'm about to fly over it. So guys, if you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, we appreciate you being here. Even if you don't get the jokes on the first go around, we'll try to help you get the jokes on the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, we're here to help propagate this hobby. I want to get you guys excited about stuff and not leave people feeling left out. Because this hobby is amazing, glorious, wonderful, fantastic, and also difficult. To get started takes skill. To keep going takes money. You can start cheap, by the way. You don't have to spend a fortune to fly. Now, I want to talk about battery life real quick while I'm thinking about it. I'm just scrolling over a couple. You'll notice I have the controller in my right hand, controlling the sticks just fine. And it looks like we have about 25% power left here in that pack. That'd be power as in voltage times current, not just voltage and not just current. We have plenty of power to keep flying for a minute longer. 2200 4S. Smart Pack 50C is doing great. And I would suggest that if you guys want this plane for 3D action, I would say it flies more scale than that. Hearing a little bit of a buzz.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that too.
Let's listen and look. Just want to make sure no prop comes off. If you lose a prop on this plane, my guess is you'll probably crash. Because even though it's powerful, it's not as powerful as some competitive offerings that are larger and a little bit less sophisticated, admittedly. But let's try. Look at this, how short this landing is going to be. There it is. Okay, nice. So that being said, I just want to talk about a few things first. We're not done flying necessarily. We are going to fly this a little bit longer, but just you can see when you get down to the lower setting of voltage, you do need to get a little bit more serious about putting down. Now, this thing should do good in grass. We just cut the runway area here at 3 inches high. Our Yarbo did it. It was awesome while we were sleeping. Oh yeah. But I got to say something. This plane feels very good in ground effect and handles very good on the ground. But I want to see how it does in a rough start. Oh yeah, gets up just fine out of the flaps. I do like that it droops its tail just a little bit. In full disclosure, a couple of our gripes with this plane were gripes because of the process, and that is we were missing a couple of fins, no big deal. Or maybe we just didn't see them in the box, that could be too. And we also had a little bit of a break on one of the pinch hinges for our rudder. So we do show how we fixed it just in case one of you guys has a rough landing and gets flipped over and breaks the tail or the rudder. You can watch that and learn a little bit with us by how we chose to resolve it. Full speed pass here, full throttle. It's got a little bit of juice there. Not unlimited vertical, but it's definitely enough to get the job done. I think it's gonna be plenty good for your average flight. Now, I do want to say something about floats, and that is power equals life. With power comes life. That is the normal status quo in all airplanes, because if you don't have power, you can't keep flying. If you don't have power, you can't make decisions. If you don't have power, you can't break surface tension while you're trying to get off floats or get up on a plane. And I can say this thing is definitely not an incredible powerhouse like we've seen on some of the recent vintage aircraft. Now I gotta say, this plane has plenty of power to do all the things that you're likely to do with this type of plane. But if you're wanting a crazy 3D performance, I would suggest this plane might leave you a little bit wanting, okay? Now, do I like it? I love it. It's awesome. It's really good. Is it gonna be everything to everybody? I don't think so, and here's why. It's heavier, and it definitely looks more scale. So if you're wanting that cartoony, floaty, really light on its feet, there's some competitive offerings that are available. They're also a lot bigger, a lot bigger. So if you're looking for a lot bigger, this might not be your cup of tea, but remember, the previous was 1.1 meters. It's like half the size of this thing, okay? Almost. 25% the wingspan, I'm guessing. But this thing here feels the part, it looks the part of what I would call a 1.2 meter size class. Now, why? Because it's 1.4? Because that's about the size. These are really thin, narrow planes. So the 1.1 meter looked to me like a micro, not an ultra micro, but a micro, because it was relatively long. It had a very narrow and slender wing. And it was not the easiest plane to fly. This one flies a little easier, notwithstanding my trim woes, which were a little bit awkward. Let's talk about one other thing. If you do the factory setup, watch this. I'm gonna show you this. System setup, disconnect RF, flight mode setup. Next. Okay, so you can see we've switched ours. Trim setup, look, F mode, F mode, F mode. Just shut it off, make it common. Now watch this, back, back. Okay, now I don't know if this is gonna work since I already did trims, but you can see my trims here. Okay, watch this. Now they're the same. Oh, sorry, of course. Now they're the same, okay? So if you have common trim setup, which is the default ordinarily, then the trims are going to be tied to each of the modes in the flight modes. But the factory setup was doing flaps on switch D and normal takeoff and landing modes on switch D. I wanted switch B. I changed more than that. I also added a different mode here. I changed this to control flight modes. I changed this to do AS3X off and safe, okay? So that it's ordinary between plane and between models. That's what I recommend you do. You don't have to do it that way. It's still relatively easy setup. I'm running 10% expo and 100% rates. This would be 5% expo and 100% rates. And then that about half the expo, okay? This would be about double the XP, 20% expo with 90% rates, okay? I felt like I had everything I needed and maybe a little bit less. They're suggesting like 5% expo and 70%, if I remember right.
For the low rates?
So the low rates are going to be incredibly low. So I might suggest that you go my direction on the expo and rates. If you're used to flying a Brian Phillips RC setup, it doesn't mean that the factory setup is wrong. Believe me, they know a lot more than I do, but I like the way it feels with this. And I think you might actually want less expo because it's definitely got a draggy roll. I'm not saying it's a slow roll because here's the thing, folks. Look at this. Let's get some differential thrust action in here. I love looking at just one of those props spin. It's so cool. Both sides. And of course, when you do thrust reverse, it automatically makes the mixes capable. And that's through the dual Avian ESC. So you don't have to add and waste a bunch of additional channels. It just does all the mixing for you, which is really nice. Now, I do want to say this. Throttle cuts on, flaps up. We did an audio call out for that. I want to talk about the fit and finish of this model. It is tighter, it is cleaner than all the offerings that we have seen so far. And we have seen them all up to and including the large flex offering, okay? I've actually flown that once, but it was off camera because our camera overheated at null. Oops. So, ball link everywhere. That's similar to some other consistent offerings. They're a little bit bigger. This has more defined and more pretty connection points, smaller bumps and deviations in foam, and more scaled details. You also have more connection points that you can use, and you can go to the inner control surfaces here on the control rods, or excuse me, not the rods, but on the linkages and the push rods, okay? You can adjust that and get more throws. So if you want this to have a less anemic roll rate and a more crazy roll rate, you can first of all change the rates in your transmitter to move throws more. Or you can move these in. But I'm going to tell you the critical point that you're not going to be able to fix on this model is the power to weight. Well, not easily, okay? And that has to do with the fact that the motors and the combination of the props are not going to give you the same thrust power to weight ratio, okay? So you're not going to get details like this on the other offerings. You're certainly not going to get that. It's really cool. I mean, I don't really know that it does much for us, but also I had a little break right here in the foam. So I was able to fix it, and as you can see, it's working just fine. I'll actuate the rudder for you so you can see. We showed exactly how we did that, and we used tools that came in this with the exception of some China glue, okay? Now, also, I love the fact that this has a storage point for all the antennas. I just wish they would have been stored. That would have been nice. This is a 2200 4S. You notice I put it upside down with the wires forward. You can go forward or backward. You can also set up more throws for your steerable nose gear. Also, I want to talk about one other thing. Very easy, top-loading battery. Super, 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 super easy. Competitive offering has a bigger battery tray, but I felt like this one was equally good and easy to load, even though it's a smaller battery. Also, smaller battery means a little bit cheaper to fly, okay? This is super easy to take out. 2 screws, pulls out, painted white, very simple steel. These are not painted because they're covered up with fairings, okay? Also, there are decals that you can apply around here. I chose to just opt to leave this because it has that beautiful detailing. And I gotta say, it is really good detailing. Also, having a tail strike protective tail thingy, which by the way, that black mark was not mine. I didn't do that. I don't fly from asphalt, okay? But the other thing I really like about this model that's super simple and it's small details. Camera crew here, look at this. You can get right in there. and you can see what's going on, not only with your servos, but your receiver. But look at our receiver. It's kicked at a slight angle. We don't know for certain that that's not intentional. So for that reason, we left it. I am about 99% certain that that being kicked at an angle is causing my trim woes, okay? It would be easy enough to rip that off, put a little China glue, stick it back down square, reset my trims to 0, and I bet this thing would fly perfectly. But also, we have an early sample. They might have been screwing with it, and you guys probably won't have that same issue, okay? So full disclosure, we try to share all of our findings about these models. Also, the center of gravity, as you can see, I've marked the top, is perfect with the 2200 4S centered where we centered our battery. That doesn't mean you might want to run a little bit more tail heavy or a little bit more nose heavy, but there's really only about an inch of penetration forward or backward that you can get. Also, we did our normal shelf liner trick, which we'll show you in the unboxed build radio setup. That all being understood, definitely check your CG when you put the floats on to make sure it still agrees with what you want, okay? Now also, if you look in here at the receiver, there is an unused port on channel 5 because we do not have retractable landing gear. So if you wanted to set up another function, you could do that. And that is pretty cool on an air tractor, or excuse me, on an air tractor, but on a Twin Otter, because I think some of you are gonna wanna use that spare channel to do some sort of like a parachute drop mechanism, because a lot of these Twin Otters are used for drop-in parachuters.
Cool.
So I had that idea while I was thinking the other thing you might wanna do is run an additional accessory that might be a rudder on your water rudder. But of course, you could also just plug into your rudder. So you could Y off of it. And yes, you can actually use the steerable nose gear has a pocket there. So you could do some fun things to make like a water rudder if you wanted out of that, make it clear. I've done that in the past years ago. I would never do that because I want it to be prettier. And so if you have a rudder that is servo driven on your, look at this, that's the crane, guys. That crane is huge.
Yeah.
We always get distracted here on Brian Phillips RC with our little nature walks. But the truth is that crane is fishing our pond more than we probably ever will. Let's go over here so they can see it. That crane is huge. You probably can't tell from looking at it right now, but that sucker is about as wide as the road, and our road is 12 feet down there.
Yeah, he's
so
huge.
It is gigantic. Now it tucks in real small when it stands on the shoulder or on the edge of the pond, but he's probably about this tall, or she's about this tall. There, look. There she is. Watch her when she lands on the road. You won't believe me unless she lands or he lands. Look how big that thing is.
Never seen him go up there in the grass like that.
Giant. So guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we want to help you understand that we don't just do this for show. We do a show, but we don't do it just for show. I am actually quite obsessive with this. That's why you see a crosswind strip and a main landing strip on my property, or on our property, I should say. And that's gonna be where the damn gift shop goes. The damn gift shop is a joke, by the way. It's gonna be a huge barn that's gonna house all sorts of interesting things, whether it be RC, storage for the house, storage for the family, storage for the farm. It's gonna be all those things, but we're gonna have a huge door, and it's gonna be amazing because we have a full approval. And yes, we paid our egregious permit fees.
Oh my gosh.
$1,400 wasted. I mean, not wasted. And yes, we did have some letters of opposition from the neighbors. Thanks, neighbors, for being neighborly. One. But that's all right, because they were here for like an hour before we bought our land. And we spent 3 times as much on our property as they did. And we have more, and we're doing more. So anyway, we'll talk about that in another video and in the future. So if you want to thank them, give them a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up. That's how you can thank them. Best way to thank Karens is to keep flying in the USA, guys. Because listen, there's always some jackhole who wants to take the joy out of your life, even though you are living your best life, following every inconceivable level of rule that you could possibly follow. But don't let them screw it up, okay?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, aviation is fun, family friendly, it's healthy, it's enjoyable, it's rewarding, it's very difficult. It can be expensive at times, but it's one of the best hobbies you can have. And we're gonna help get you out of your chair and into the air on Brian Phillips RC. This Twin Otter will help do it. I promise. It's probably not a good starting plane, to be honest, because it's a twin and it's got a lot of complexity. But it's not gonna be a terrible plane if it's your second or third, maybe your fourth plane. okay? You're still gonna be able to enjoy it. There's still tons of great things on it. Now, for those of you that wanna do crazy intense 3D, okay, I have a question for you because I enjoy 3D, but I also understand that not every plane is going to be 3D, okay? There's people that will make this plane do more aggressive 3D. I'm just gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna lay it on the table for you to understand so you can make a purchase decision. I don't believe this plane is going to do 3D well, period. We have done competitive brands that do 3D pretty darn good, okay? So if that's what you're after, make your best judgment call. Because here on Brian Phillips RC, we're all about the truth, so you can make a good decision. And also advancing the hobby by not selling you the wrong thing at the wrong time for the wrong reasons. And if we speak your language, which is the truth and helpful, and not leave you high and dry, and not tell you everything is the best, then smash the like button. Some of our competitors don't like doing this. Some of them are great. It just depends on the day and the footage. But this plane is awesome. And we want you to remember that when you get an E-flite product, it's being marketed, sold in the United States by United States people. We're in the United States. And there's people in the United States that are depending on you buying amazing hobby products. That being said, we also understand it's made in China. I don't really care where it's made as long as it's made well. And so here's the thing. When they make them well. Why? Because they know they're going to get more product. They're going to get more orders. They're going to make the best product. They're going to get the best pricing. They're going to get the best shipping rates. All the things that we expect to drive down the cost of a volume deal, okay? If there's 10 of us that love this, it's going to be expensive. If there's 10 million of us that love this, it's going to be less expensive. That is the easiest equation. I can break it down for you. Regardless of tariffs, regardless of national deals, regardless of shipping, all that stuff gets driven down the more and bigger the hobby is. So let's keep this hobby solvent. Let's keep it good. And let's keep the Karens where they belong, in the basement, cowering. Okay? This is an amazing plane. You'll love it. The best way you can enjoy it is follow the links in the video description below. Get one for your very own. I'm gonna, of course, turn on some reverse and forward thrust. And I'm just gonna cycle that. And I'm gonna give you just one, like we're starting just one engine. That is so dang cool. And I gotta say, guys, with the DA-18, which of course is one of our favorites, what a beautiful Beechcraft. It had a similar control system, okay? I'm gonna tell you something too. That plane, probably more capable of 3D than this one, okay? That plane is also a bit heavy, but also very easy to take apart. Wingtips come straight out with a click, okay? These wingtips are gonna take a little bit more effort. I know some of you are thinking, that's a pretty big plane. Can I get it in my car? The answer is probably. This is a lot smaller than the other offering, but you've got one screw, two screws, or one screw and two screws, or 1, 2, and 3, 4. You've got one wing off, no connections. You don't have to connect any wires on this plane, anywhere. The only thing you have to do is press on this ball link, okay? In terms of connections for control surfaces. Everything else just slides together in the assembly. It comes in a lot of pieces, admittedly, but the pieces go together really quick, and it's actually quite easy. The hardest part is distinguishing between all the different Phillips screws. I don't know why they went to Phillips screws, but they did work reasonably well. We had some trouble with the smallest ones here, but they were just, I don't know, they were just kind of small. So that being said, you have to hold this together while you put those screws on. You can take off the landing gear, but you have to take off the fairings to pull them out without the potential for damage, in my opinion, because they wrap around a piece of foam on the top and the bottom, okay? So if you intend to go from this to floats, there's a little bit of a process involved, okay? So in answering all your questions, Brian Phillips RC really wants you to know that we love the hobby, we love aviation, and we love you guys enough to tell you the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. While we help talk you into a hobby that your wife may not be thrilled about, that you may have to learn all sorts of amazing gimmicks and tricks to get her to agree to, or you could just pick an awesome wife like mine that lets you enjoy and fulfill your dreams. So that's really good if you can do that. This plane is awesome. I think you're gonna really enjoy it, but it's not going to be a 3D crazy plane, okay? I don't want every plane to fly crazy 3D, in my personal experience. It's fun if it can, and I'm not gonna take any marks off of a plane that will do it, but here's my experience with planes that fly 3D. We fly them 3D. We don't end up flying them like they should be flown. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with flying 3D, but it's a totally different thing from scale flight. I love scale flight, and I know that many of you do too. Okay, so that's gonna be kind of the stand, okay? Do you want 3D? Do you want smaller? Do you want more detailed? Or do you want crazy 3D, higher performance, you know, that sort of stuff, and I'm less concerned about scale. Those are really on the scales right now for decision making, and then also price points. So check it out, follow the links, you'll see what the price is gonna be. We don't talk much about price on this channel. It's a good time to not do that because things are changing all the time. And I gotta say, beautiful plane. There were some decals that came with it. I chose not to put them on. I mentioned around the doors, there was also some Air Canada decals.
They were like DH Canada.
Yeah, like de Havilland.
Yeah.
Yeah, Canada. But yeah. I didn't know exactly where they were appropriately placed because we got a white box.
Yes, right.
So we chose not to put them on. If you choose to put them on, I think they gave us like 4 of them. So check it out, Unbox Build Radio Setup will show those stickers. They seem like high quality, but again, unpainted white foam is a good place for decals to go. You don't tend to have a lot of problems. You're not gonna peel back the paint. Obviously the air bladders are painted. The props are painted and jigged, and then the red is painted. There's also painting on the nacelles, but 0 wiring.
Yep.
0 effort in that regard, but a little bit of effort in order to set up the programming. Also, there are 2 ports that stick out of the ESC right in your battery bay. So if you don't already have the Avian programming tool, you might want to get it just for some of the older hardware you have that you want to turn on thrust reverse or change the direction of rotation on a motor without actually having to switch wiring. That can be really tedious on certain planes. Or if you want to turn on braking or adjust braking, things like that. It's probably one of those tools that you just have to have if you use a lot of Avians, okay?
Yeah.
Am I a little bit annoyed that we can't set up both sides? Yeah, because I can enter the menu and I can walk through and navigate and exit. I just can't see the feedback on the screen. So that could put you in a potentially compromising condition. So maybe don't do that. You'll see our failure in the Unbox Build Radio setup. All right, guys, have I missed anything? I feel like I've talked a lot about this plane because there is a lot to talk about.
There is.
It is a very good plane.
It is. And I think you really only need that Avian, the programmer, if you want to do reverse thrust. Some people don't ever do it and they're not going to set it up.
Yeah.
But if you want it, you're going to need the programmer.
You probably don't need it on this plane just for the simple fact that you can land it so easy. But like with us right now, full disclosure, when you've got a 3-inch clean runway, you're not going to run this thing on it, okay? I might fly a real Twin Otter, but even that I would not want to puncture a tire. So 3-inch clean is pretty rough. I mean, the only reason it's 3-inch and not 5 inches so it doesn't stick between the drive wheels of the machinery that's going to be driving up and down here in a few weeks, hopefully to get started on dirt work and excavation for the foundation of the damn gift shop. But at the end of the day, guys, you know, if we didn't have to stop in a hurry, we could just overshoot the runway. It does great in the grass.
Yeah.
You could fly it from grass. You could probably hand launch it without too much effort, but it does need a little bit of speed to fly. So.
And you always say floats. If you're on floats, the thrust reverse is nice to get out of it.
It's very, very nice.
Yeah.
Because it really makes up for a world of difficulty that you might experience with a water rudder. Water rudders, as you know, are sometimes overwhelmed by the straight run of the canoes, right? Or what are they called canoes?
Oh, is that what they're called?
No, I don't know. I just came up with
floats,
that. The pontoons, the floats.
Yeah.
The floats go straight and parallel like this. So if you have a teeny little rudder, it'll still pivot you, but you have to carry some speed to do that. The thing that's really nice about the differential thrust and thrust reverse, it means you can really pretty much get in there. And you might want to turn that percentage from 10 up to something more in those conditions, okay? And that's easy enough to do if you have the programming tool. You can do the left side from the front or from the screen where you scroll all the way to the right and hold the sticks. We'll show that, but you can't set up the right one.
Yep.
Okay. So lots of findings on this plane, lots of beauty, lots of detail. I really, really like the way it looks. I like the way it flies. And frankly, I think it's going to be a really good fit for a lot of people that want to fly a scale Twin Otter. Okay. So hopefully we answered all your questions. We want to be fully transparent because when we get planes like this to review, sometimes, especially when they're in close proximity to a competitive offering, people are thinking, okay, or are they going to tell us, just buy this one, buy that one? That's not really what we do, okay? Because we don't really care which one you get. But we do want you to get the one that fits your needs, okay? And sometimes these planes are really close, okay? And sometimes there's pretty big differences, okay? I don't feel like this one is super miles away from the other and the other is super miles away from this one. I feel like they just have different strengths, okay? So you have to decide what's important to you in this regard. Fit and finish, looks and scale detail, as well as scale flight performance, I feel like are gonna be slightly better over here. And also make sure you're comparing plug and play or bind and fly. There is a huge difference in price point, especially if you're gonna end up using Spectrum gear, if you're gonna get the competitive offering, okay? So just some considerations, and I gotta say, I really, really like the way both of them look, but I like the way this one looks slightly better, even though it's a bit smaller. It's got more of the scale appeal. It's gonna be easier to store for us. Those are the two reasons why I like that better. That doesn't mean that that's gonna fit your specific list of needs. You might just want bigger is better. Now, I gotta admit, would I like this bigger with this scale detail? Yeah, I would, because it seems like some of these planes just translate better as they get bigger. And other planes, a 1.2 is just as good as a 1.5, and a 1.5 is just as good as a 1.7, although most of the time it seems to translate better and better as you get bigger, okay? Also, the cost component goes up significantly when you get bigger. All right, so Twin Otter E-flite, good job. Definitely like it myself. I think it's great. I think it's gonna suit a broad audience of intermediate pilots. Do I think it's for a beginner? To be honest, it's not a hard plane to fly. Notwithstanding the trim issues, like I said, I had were a little bit weird, and I think a newer pilot would struggle to resolve that. Also, they wouldn't be using thrust reverse, I don't think, and safe allows for a pretty good flight envelope on this plane. Horizon, if you're listening, I want to be able to adjust my safe flight envelope in bind and flies, okay, without doing a full reset, okay? We've had a couple of people ask about that, and it's not that the bank angles we're given are a problem, but I would like to be able to go in and re-level the plane and capture the attitudes, because like this plane is flying like that. Why? Okay, I want it to fly like that. If we could do that, it is a 10-second fix on a bind and fly, on a plug and fly. So, or if I do a full factory reset, I'd like to be able to do that with the advanced menus. So if you're listening, if it's capable, we'd like to see that. Otherwise, I love it. It's beautiful. I thought we were gonna see strobes on the wingtips, but to be honest, if I have to give up a feature, I'm okay with that feature going away. I like it, I prefer it, I think it's sweet, but these are very bright and easy to see.
Yep.
So if I have to give up a strobe so I can see better, I'll give it up all day long. But I still think the strobe would be a cool feature. Can that be changed? Can that be added? I don't know. I didn't play with the wiring. We didn't have to wire it. Right. And I think it had to do with the quick disconnect in the wing because you'd need another controller somewhere. So we'll wait and see. All right, guys, leave your questions, leave your comments. What do you think of the Twin Otter from E-flite? I know it's gonna be juicy, this topic, because especially up against recent competitive offerings, I think some of you are gonna think, I think you might be wrong. Give this one a second thought. It is amazing. I really, really like the way that it turned out. It is just more crispy and more delicious than you probably realize. When you put this up against the competitive offering, it is way nicer looking. Looks like a plastic model, but it's foam, okay? So if you're into scale details, you're probably gonna like this one a little bit better, okay? All right, leave your questions, leave your comments. Guys, thanks so much for supporting Brian Phillips RC. We've been working so hard on this aerodrome, on our experience to expand the runway, build this damn gift shop, which is gonna open up all new offerings here on Brian Phillips RC that we think you guys are gonna love, okay? And we're gonna love it, even if you don't. So hopefully you'll come back for more because we have a lot more right around the corner. If you're looking for ways to support us, if you like this type of long format content and you're sick and tired of just 3-second blurbs that change your focus and change your focus and change your focus as you poop, then make sure you like the video, okay? Help us help you, okay? We are put at disadvantages on YouTube for some reason. They don't like the long format, even though they make more money on it. I don't understand the problem. Why would you not want to make more money, YouTube, Google? I'm not sure. Maybe they make more money on shorts than we realize. But all I know is this. They're playing more ads on long videos, so you would think they'd be happy with it. And so, you know, I just think the best thing you can do if you want to see more of something is support the people doing it, okay? So E-flite's doing good things. Support them if you want to see more good things, all right? And you can do the same thing for Brian Phillips RC. Smash the like button, click the bell for notifications when you do subscribe so that you get notified of new content. And then also, if you want to support us in other ways, we have Patreon for monthly support, and YouTube membership for monthly support, as well as we have YouTube super thanks, which are always appreciated. And we see those, they always light our heart. You know, we see those things and we know that you guys are there on the other side of the screen helping us out. And then we also have a P.O. Box and PayPal if you want to support us in other ways.
Did you say Patreon?
Patreon.
Sorry, you did them in a weird order.
No,
today.
I know, I did. That's right. PayPal. If you don't want to be part of those clubs.
Yeah.
Because I know some people have told us over the years, they're like, hey, you know, we want to support you, but I don't want to like give my contact information to this one particular company or whatever. That's fine. We understand. Everybody's got their own, you know, way of handling things. We get it. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly why we tell you what we think about these models without trying to make up your mind for you. Some people are not going to agree with us. That's totally cool. But we do try to report findings in an unbiased way, especially when there might be a close one, okay? So hopefully we did that. I do really like this plane. I think you guys will too. It is great. So check it out. Links in the video description below. And yes, you can get them now. Sometimes the other guy doesn't have them for a long time. So I would say if you want a Twin Otter, this one's available right now. And when I say right now, if the pre-order is like a week or two, don't hold me to it because I don't always control the exact timing of things, but what we've been told is it should be available pretty much right away, okay? All right, questions, comments, leave below. Thanks, guys. Come back for more.